brought to you by the Las Vegas Tribune. I'd also like to give a shout out to Defiance Clothing, to the guys out there. Thanks a lot for putting up some posts about this website and radio podcast. I've been slacking a little bit on giving you guys your props. I know last week we had some malfunctions with the radio show, so unfortunately we had to scrap it. But I swear, I was talking about you guys. But they're going to be sponsoring Shannon Reed at the upcoming Tough Enough event on the 29th of November. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Anyone interested in going out to that, it's going to be a good show. We got, I think, 12 fights on the card, a lot of locals. So come out and support the locals after getting stuffed up with turkey and mashed potatoes and all that stuff. The poor fighters have to weigh in on Thanksgiving. Luckily, we're getting them in there a little early so that they don't have to hate life watching everyone else eat all their food. But, yeah, just hopefully you can come on out to the Orleans. I believe it starts at 6, or doors open at 6. Fights will start at 7. I believe it's $25 for the general admission. That's not much money. I know most of you can scrounge that up. Just don't go to the slot machines for one day and then come out and support some of these fighters who are putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort. So that's the MMA world there, but what we're going to do today is talk a little boxing, which, as we know, is not my greatest forte, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get it in there because I do enjoy watching the boxers, especially down at Mayweather's, which is where our guest is from. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mikayla Nebel.
And you train out at Mayweather's. Do you train anywhere else, or do you just stay at Mayweather's?
No, I stay at Mayweather's.
Right. And I'm guessing most people that are going to be listening to this won't know about your record or anything like that, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your record right now?
Okay. Well, I got started boxing when I was 16 years old, and I started fighting at the age of 18. I turned amateur. I had 7 amateur fights. I went undefeated and decided, let's go pro. Went pro when I was 20 years old, and I've had 5 fights since then. And now my current record is 0-5, which is an easy thing to do in boxing, if you're not being taken care of. So
right.
I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. I was a managing partner of a gym out there. I was a head trainer, trained soccer moms, trained amateur kids, pros. We had various school programs, so I was heavily involved doing that. But my career, I wanted to take it very seriously, and so I said, let me pack up and move to Vegas and, see what opportunities will open up and what doors will open up for me out here.
Okay. And you said that how long did your amateur career last?
It was about a year. I got 7 fights in a year, thankfully. As far as being a female, I had tons of fights fall through. Girl couldn't show up. She had this problem, that, so, and especially with my weight being, 120 is normally what I fight at. Okay. So there's very few girls, that are boxing in general. So it took some time, but I'm thankful that I got that experience in. Like I said, I had a couple stoppages on my record, and skills pay the bills, and so I was on a roll, and I wanted to see what my professional career would open up for me. So I went.
And where have you fought for your pro career?
I fought all on the East Coast.
Okay.
I fought New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So I wanted to see what the West would bring. A lot of girls my weight class and my division are out here, out West.
I see. So have you had a fight since being with the Mayweather camp?
I have not.
Okay.
And there's rumors and talks of, different things. And I work with Roger Mayweather, so he is wanting to put me on a card that he's going to be working with some of the greats like Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran. So he wants to have me as his female fighter on the card.
And what's it like working with him?
Oh, it's amazing. It's an honor to work with such a great man like, Roger Mayweather. The greatest trainer of all time. He hasn't gotten Trainer of the Year at all in his career, and it's unbelievable to me that he doesn't get his just due. He really knows boxing, and he brings the best out of you when you're training. He only wants perfection, and he wants you to get better, and he really cares, and so I'm grateful for that time.
How long did it take you to get used to the fact that you were training with him?
I still am not used to it. I'm still looking at him like, just thankful and blessed. And, I just, everything that he says, I take to heart, and I want to learn, and I want to get better. And, like I said, he's the best. That's why I moved here.
Right.
And I moved here, and I didn't know what direction I was going to take. I just knew I was going to show up at Mayweather's and go from there. And the first day that I walked in, Roger, the classic, takes you over to the picture on the wall, tells you, where do the best fighters come from? I said, the Midwest. That's where I'm from. And he's like, okay, well, let's see what you're working with. And he brought me out on the floor, and He's like, you've been schooled. You know what you're doing. So we got the mitts, and we started working mitts. And every time I go in there, he's grabbing me up, and we're working.
And how much time would you say you put in per week? I mean, given an average week.
I try to get there every day if I can and spend a few hours there. And obviously, not everything is in the gym. I mean, you're running, you're doing push-ups, sit-ups at home, watching boxing footage. So I'd say, I mean, it's basically a full-time job for me right now. So on average, I don't know, let's say 30 hours a week at the gym. You just try to get there every chance you can.
And do you also hold down a regular day-to-day job?
I was in the beginning when I got here, and now I'm not. Like I said, I want my boxing to take me, obviously, to my full time. It's a struggle, being a fighter and trying to get to the gym between 12 and 5 and still have like a 9-to-5 job. It just doesn't work. So I'm sticking and moving, and I train people here and there. And like I said, I wear a lot of hats in Columbus, so I do have fighters, and I manage them and still supply them on like different cards and shows. So that's the way I can, earn some.
Tell me about
living.
that. And you said you started off doing that, right?
Yes, yeah. In Columbus, managing partner of the gym, we had pros on contract. We had a big amateur team. We'd go all over the nation, and so that's really what got me started in the pro boxing. Was I would supply fighters to cards, and people would obviously, oh, you're a fighter too, I want to get you a debut, get you on a card. So that's kind of what led to me getting my debut in New Jersey.
And Mikayla, did you ever think about doing any of the other combat sports? I mean, I know you're into boxing, like that's your thing, but did it ever cross your mind to go into any of this other stuff?
It hasn't really. I mean, I see in like obviously the resurgence of like women in the MMA, mixed martial arts, like Miesha Tate and all of that. I mean, it makes you think, but I definitely want to get where I'm going and accomplish my goals and my dreams in boxing, and then maybe when I'm a little bit older, I could convert over.
Would you be interested in because I know for a fact there's a couple of lady fighters out here that you could come in and show how to do a little better hand action than what they have right now. Did you ever think about maybe coaching kind of across the spectrum?
Coaching as far as
being like a boxing coach in an MMA gym or a Muay Thai gym even, because one of the big things in MMA obviously is you want a little bit of everything. And it's no good when you don't have a boxing coach.
Exactly.
And for women especially, they really don't have enough of them that can focus directly on women coaches for women. Right.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's my specialty. Like I said, when I was 16 is when I started. When I was 18, I became a managing partner in the gym there in my town. So I was training soccer moms, training other amateur females that wanted to fight and everything. So I definitely think that's important to give back and to, share knowledge and help other ladies.
I've seen your handiwork. That was a bad pun, but I've seen you work in the bag especially, and I just wish that I could get more MMA people to come in to work with the Mayweather gym at all, let alone some of the females I see who really could benefit from some of the real basic handwork. They are different sports. Sometimes you got to keep your hands a little lower in MMA. Muay Thai, they have a different sort of defense.
Right.
But at the same time, throwing a good jab is like super important for all of these sports.
Of course, and a correct one at that.
Right, and we're not seeing enough of it. So I always like to ask the boxers if they'd ever. Some boxers just are like, no, I'm not going to help with the MMA stuff. That's a totally different thing. But especially for women, I like to see the women working together to try to bolster the sport because it is just coming up for them at this point.
We're
and it's a real opportunity where women can help each other out to get this stuff going. Because as we've seen with the Tough Show, Matt, we're getting a lot of interest in the female fights, even over the male fights.
The females bring it. They're usually very exciting. They throw a lot of punches, a lot of kicks, and they're exciting. Just even in boxing, very, very exciting.
Well, what I always say is that you don't mistake them for people that are doing it for the money. They're certainly going in there because they care about it, and they care about doing well and succeeding in it because they want to succeed and because they love it.
Absolutely. They have a passion for it.
You're not going to get any King Mo's. I'm just being mean to Mo. But you see guys like Tito sometimes it gets that handle on him. I know he saw Rampage sometimes. They say he's more about it for the money at this point. It doesn't matter. You never hear about that. Like with Ronda Rousey, it's the exact opposite. She's a crazy person. She'd probably do it. She'd probably pay to go in and hurt people.
Well, you see a lot of these fighters too. They're in it when there wasn't any money.
Right.
And that's a great thing to see them start making money and be successful.
Exactly.
Well, and that's like for you, right? That's you're getting so used to not making money in this.
Right,
it can't be for the money at this point.
No, it's not. It's a struggle, obviously, but like I said, I mean, it's my passion. It's something I was born to do, and I want to fulfill my dreams. So
right.
if it means not necessarily having a mansion and having a Benz out front, it is what it is. I live a frugal life anyway, so.
I never understood the Benz thing. I don't get cars. I know cars have wheels, and I know that you turn the steering one to make the ones on the ground go. But I've never understood that. Like when people talk about like throaty engines and things like that, I go, does it go? Like, does it move forward? That's what I'm worried about.
Right.
Mostly, I like food. Like if you could just get me a good meal, I'll take that.
I'll take a hot meal any day. Yep.
So I got to ask, where does your passion from boxing stem from?
Well, it's just like I explained to him when I was 16, I wanted to learn how to box to defend myself. And so I went into the gym, and it was just something that was natural to me. I enjoyed doing it. I loved hitting the bag, hitting the mitts. So it's something that I've fallen into as far as just something that's taken over my life. I enjoy the physical aspect of it, pushing myself to my limits and seeing what I'm capable of.
Was it good?
Let me get a fighter's perspective. How hard is it to maintain that discipline day in and day out?
It's not hard for me.
Because her personality is not one that you're going to get
I have a strict diet. There's things that I won't eat at all due to my beliefs, my religious beliefs, and just I know what's good for me and what's going to make me, perform the best, and what's good for my body. So it's not hard. You just got to eat the right things, and when you eat the right things, they taste good. So
so your body's accustomed to it. But if you fast forward 5 years from now, 7 years from now, can you still see yourself with that same discipline?
Yes, you have to. I mean, if I'm wanting to take this sport seriously, you have to be disciplined. You have to be, strong-minded and, know where you're going to end up and what you're going to do and what it takes to get there. And obviously eating right, training, all of that is, goes hand in hand.
The good thing is you're at a gym where that's pretty much the way it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to help being at that gym.
Yes.
You don't really have an excuse.
No, it's amazing being at the Mayweather Club.
When you're doing your fights, you cut weight, correct?
I don't. I mean, maybe a couple pounds. I'll cut a few pounds.
You don't do like a dehydration cut or anything?
No, nothing like that. I'm normally sitting
right
around there.
Finally found someone that doesn't do that. MMA it's out of control.
Yeah.
Because we get wrestlers, so
right.
That's their
so
whole
they're
life.
Cutting a lot. Women, it's hard to, I mean, it's different for women versus men cutting. I mean, you see some guys can cut like 10 pounds in a few days, and I'll try to cut a few pounds, and it's like, geez, I mean, I just can't get this off. So, I don't know.
So, when you do, pretty much what you're doing is just cutting down the caloric intake, essentially? That's what you're trying to do for getting at fight weight?
Basically, yeah, just not taking in as much water,
okay. So it's you're getting a little dehydrated. You're cutting out some water, but you're not doing the wrestling NCAA, getting to a Epsom salt bath.
Yeah, sauna suits, hot baths.
That was always my favorite part of training, because it's so hard and it's you versus yourself. I never worried about the other person. I always worried about if I could get to I need to get down to 125 or 135, and that's hard to do when you're 5'9", and usually walking at 160 or 150. So depending on what I was doing beforehand, if I was doing strength training or whatnot. But that was the fun part, was that agony. I'm also Catholic, so we really like that world of that everything's terrible and we did everything wrong, so we have to make up for it with pain. So it works pretty well.
That's one of the biggest fights is making weight. Why do you feel so many fighters start out with that discipline, they're so dedicated, and then as it grows, it just pretty much disappears?
Probably just they don't have the love for it anymore. It's maybe obviously the age. Maybe they're getting older and it's not as easy anymore to cut what they thought they could. Maybe 5 years from now is easier to cut those 10 pounds like they thought, and now, their body just won't let them do that. So.
Right. Going back to your fights, you talked about that you've had these 5 losses. Did you have a fight where you really had to dig deep to find a way to win, or were you always feeling like you were in control?
Well, for the first 4 fights, I definitely felt that I was always in control. And then my 5th fight, I didn't necessarily get to that when I was running through the list. I took a rematch with one of the girls, her hometown, Heather Hardy, and it was for 6 rounds.
Wait, so you went back to her hometown?
Yes.
What are you thinking? We talked about that.
Right, the hometown thing. And it's like, you got to do what you got to do in this game. I mean, like, there's only so many girls in my weight class, and you have to, if you're going to do anything, you have to do it, So I went back, and I guess that fight, considering the fact the way my first 4 had went, I guess I didn't have that extra oomph in me that I normally do, so I had to dig deep for that, and just, I pulled out, obviously lost the decision or whatnot, but, if everything would have went, my way, maybe those first 4 fights, then I would have never fought her again. I wouldn't have had the rematch. I knocked her down the first fight, beat the brakes off of her, and then obviously I would have never went back to that.
I find it interesting that you don't have a lot of people to fight in your weight class. It's a weight class that in MMA, at least, that's the one that's thriving right now, is 115, 125, in that range. That's where most of the women are. It seems like a natural fight weight for most of them. Why is it that you're having trouble finding any out here?
Well, it's not that I'm like, as far as like sparring partners and things that are my weight class, that's difficult. But it's, I mean, like I said, there's about 10, 15 girls in my weight class in the whole country, so those are the ones I have to pick from.
Right, that seems crazy to me that there aren't as many. It just seems like a natural weight around 115 if you're healthy and you're in shape and you're not, 6'5" or 5 foot.
Most girls are between 5 foot or 5'4", 5'5". So a lot of girls.
Are they just avoiding you? Is it
probably,
they've been hearing it? They've been looking at the tape and they're like, nope, can't do it. And now you're with Mayweather. That's even scarier at this point.
Yep. Now people know they gotta watch out for me.
Do you go with the team when there's the fights? I know Cooper went up to Seattle. I know that there's going to be a couple fights here. I imagine you're going to go to the ones that are here, right?
Yeah, I'll go support. I think that they're having a show, up in Washington, December 6th. They've got a few of the Mayweather fighters on there.
And you'll be heading out with them?
No, I won't be. Yeah, not be going there.
Are you too busy? Or you just don't want to have to fight? You're just going to get into fights with your own teammates out there?
No, I like to keep everything local if I can, go to the stuff that's around here.
Are you just one of those people that just trains all the time? That's what you do?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if I could, when I was a managing partner of the gym in Columbus, obviously I had access to it 24/7. I'd spar at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just get the edge to want to go train and go train.
You're my kind of crazy. That's good. That's good stuff. There's people that you see who are those super intense, like out of control people all the time. You're almost a little worried that they're going to go berserk.
Yeah.
You don't have that. You have the very just straightforward, this is your job kind of thing.
Right.
But so how do you manage doing, this is going to be a terrible sentence. How do you manage doing the managing part of this as well?
Well, like I said, when I was in Columbus, I was wearing all those hats, and it was kind of, I guess, maybe difficult for me to focus solely on myself and my priorities.
I would think it would be difficult to really put in, given how focused you are, maybe that's why you can be hyper-focused now, but it seems like it would take away a little bit no matter how much you want it not to.
Right. It definitely does, obviously. There's a lot that goes into making a fight happen and then following through and getting in the ring and making it, go down. So, it's easier now that I'm out here because the fighters that I manage are in Ohio, so I'm not training them. I'm not worrying about the gym anymore, all of that. So it's easier just to be over the phone, making calls and stuff.
See, I feel like that'd be harder, but I'm a perfectionist and I have to be in control of stuff. That's my awesome OCD side where I wouldn't be able to handle it. I would have to go back to Ohio and I would waste all my money traveling over there. How many people do you handle?
Just a couple right now. We had about 4 or 5, and obviously people decide to do other things.
Yeah.
So
But as with the job I'm doing now with Tough Enough, I've learned very quickly how sometimes people just vanish sometimes, or they just move on. All of a sudden, one day they're like 100%, the next day like, I gotta go do stuff, so I'm not gonna be around anymore.
Right.
Matt, do you have any experience dealing with I know you just do the training stuff, but do you ever find those guys who are super intense one day and then the next day?
Yeah, I try not to jump to conclusions. Sometimes there's reasons for
politician.
For things,
Always a politician.
But I got to ask, with your losses, what was the biggest thing you really learned from that?
Not to take fights in hometowns. That's what she learned.
Besides that one.
Yeah, just getting a promoter, having someone behind me that's I just need a neutral playing ground. I just need that fair, that fair shake.
Right.
And, I won all those. Like I said, I feel like I'm an undefeated fighter. Just because the people in the suits told me I lost doesn't mean anything to me. Everybody in the crowd told me I got robbed. People, their fathers told me just everybody, obviously just I'm young, so I know that I can correct my career. And Layla McCarter, she's something like 33 and 14. She was 1-4 when she moved to Vegas. She had some rough losses going in girls' hometowns again. So it's just getting that person behind you and getting that opportunity, and that's all I need. I don't need to change my game plan. I don't need to change my boxing. You know what I mean? I've got it all. I just need that fairness.
Well, you've picked the wrong sport, and I think all of us have.
It's tough.
It's tough whenever you have judges, though. I don't understand judges half the time. We kind of touched on it earlier, but I don't know where they're getting their credentials. Sometimes you see where they get them from, but you can't figure out how they passed whatever course they had to do.
Right.
The competency level. I'm not sure where that comes from, but especially in boxing, and maybe it's just because I would have assumed that other sports, maybe kickboxing is more like boxing, but especially MMA, you would think there's so many things incorporated that you have to judge. It would be way worse. But it seems lately, at least, that while MMA certainly has its problems, what we had touched on, you're almost just waiting to hear what the judges say instead of actually watching the fight, because you're worried about how are they going to screw up. It's not whether or not they will, it's how are they going to mess this up.
Right.
Although did you watch the Pacquiao fight, Matt?
Yes.
And what did you think of it?
I thought it was a good fight.
That's the first time, yeah?
Yeah, he naturally clearly won.
And got the judges to agree, though.
And got the judges to agree. I think the judges I'm a big proponent. There needs to be consequences for some of these judges. I wish they could put one in prison for 20 years because they need to, as you said, Bootsy, they need to justify how they're scoring specific things.
Right, yeah.
What do you think about that? So far.
Yeah.
What do you think about having a post-fight judges press conference where they have to explain themselves?
Right, yeah, exactly. Like anything that's going to bring it to the forefront.
I think you'd have to have it in a separate place than the fighters, because I feel like there would constantly be arguments going on there. But boxing,
it's a major problem. It's been a problem, and something has to be done. And the biggest thing is if someone is dishonest and has no integrity, it doesn't matter what kind of training, whether they're professional fighters or anything. They need to have consequences.
I would pay so much money to hear what C.J. Ross has to say about her scoring. I would love to hear it. I just want to know. I'm just curious.
Once again, it does angles take into account. People make honest mistakes. There's no way in the world you can watch that Mayweather fight from any angle and only give him 6 rounds. Right. As much guff as we give to that GSP Hendricks fight, at least there's some. If you're talking about point karate fighting, maybe he edged it out. But that Mayweather fight.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Honestly, if there was ever one that I could point to in recent years that was a payout, just to give it a split instead of a unanimous, seems like it's a pretty obvious one. But again, I never put it past someone to be completely incompetent either. It happens.
She's been a judge for, I think, 20 years. She's done a lot of world title fights, including the Pacquiao fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, this is a problem.
Yeah.
There was problems with that fight, and she got this fight. It was almost like a reward. There needs to be consequences, and I know they're calling for the governor to step in. I don't have all the answers, but something has to be done.
I have all of the answers. I figured it out. But I don't have the history of watching a lot of boxing, but she's done a lot. I know she did a lot of fights. Has she ever been like that incompetent as in those 2 fights? Because that's what I find interesting is all of a sudden for those 2, I know what her name is, and I never knew her name before that.
No, she has a good track record.
That's even more worrisome.
It wasn't like it was, for the majority, good track record. Once again, people make honest mistakes, and you can see why they're coming.
2 real big ones in a row, though.
But those were uncalled.
And how old is she? Do we know her age? Could dementia be a thing? Is what I'm wondering.
Well, there does need to be training, and I think they should, watch fights. How would you score that round? Why would you score it that way?
Did you ever think of becoming a judge once you're done with all this?
I actually did, just to obviously help clean the sport up and have someone that's a professional fighter judging professional boxing,
Or get left out in the desert if you don't do what they tell you to do.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. If I don't go their way.
This comes back to you learning how to defend yourself, though. So
yes. So I can take care of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think it should be a requirement that especially referees and judges should have at least boxed amateur?
Yes, and also professional. I mean, if you're judging pro boxing, then, you have to have done it to know what it's like and to, know what experience is and know what you're looking at.
I disagree with this. I fully disagree with this, but it's because my problem with it is that you have to have experience in the craft, right? And the craft is judging, not fighting. You're trying to look at the criteria in which to judge properly. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, like I would prefer people to have a background in it, but if you got a guy who's been a quadriplegic his whole life, but he's watched every single fight and he can rightly judge it, if he can show competence in saying which fighter wins at which time, the only thing I care about is that you prove you can do it. Honestly, it could be a dog that just happens to pick the right people each time. If he does it right every time and I can see where he's coming up with his decision, which that's going to be a challenge for the dog. I'll have to learn a little bark language. But I'm just saying that I think that you don't need to be involved in it. And I'm talking for MMA too. I think that you just have to show competence and be willing to explain yourself. And as long as you do that, I'm fine. But I'm a student of logic, right? So all we ever do is take theories and never actually enact them. We just figure them out to see how they work. And that's it. So while
you got
a rebuttal.
You got an opportunity.
I mean, obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I just, coming from, like I said, just my experiences, I think that if maybe those judges would have ever fought or been in the boxing gym before, and and it was fair playing ground, and it wasn't, obviously they know their deal before it's even started. They know who the hometown person is, and they know who the opponent is. So I guess you're just up against a lot, Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about before was that judges at least need to look through monitors, I think, that have a clear view as opposed to sitting in an obstructed view and not always being able to see the same thing. Because back in the day, of course, you had that because you didn't have the technology we have nowadays. Right. There's no reason that we shouldn't be updating it to give everyone their fair chance when there's fights going on. Because I guess in a cage it's probably worse than in a ring, but if someone's on the opposite side in the corner somewhere, you can't see always if the shots are landing or not. And you can certainly see it if you have a monitor that has the right camera angle on it.
I think in theory that's why you have the three judges, because different angles. I think
True.
MMA, when it goes on the ground, it can be very, very difficult to see exactly what's going on.
Right.
And sometimes in boxing, in the clinches and some of the infighting, you can see. But it goes back to judges just really wanting to do the right thing. That's what it comes down to. And trying to do the right thing.
Well, everybody wants to do the right thing until someone gives them $100,000 to do the wrong thing, though.
So they're slipping it under the table.
That's where it gets weird. But I've actually had a real lengthy argument with somebody, and of course we turned it into like a philosophical debate after a while on whether or not you need to actually partake in a sport in order to judge it well. I think certainly that if I had the choice between, if all else equal and someone then also was involved in the sport, you choose that person. But I just can't see telling someone that if they weren't involved, because maybe there's a reason they're not involved. Maybe they have a bum leg, they were never able to be involved, but that means they sat there and judged X or Y as much as they could every day. So they're probably better at judging, actually, than someone like maybe a Tito Ortiz, who tends to not know much about what's going on.
I just think there's enough fighters out there where after they're retired, at least at the amateur, people that participate in amateur, they can bring them in there. Because they have a passion for the sport. They've done it, and they know how it feels to get cracked with the body shot or to be rocked and you can't see. They can experience that.
Well, and I do feel like it's if it's to get ex-fighters jobs, I'm all for that. As much as I would like to take the job and be the judge and the ref and the fighter and the announcer. Yeah, I'll do it all. I'll announce it while I get punched in the face, and then I'll score it 10-9 to me. Clearly, because I took a good punch.
Right.
And that was very impressive of me. But if it, in all honesty, if it does get fighters an avenue after they're done fighting, as long as their brains are all right, then I'm all about them doing it, because there needs to be more outlets for fighters. We've seen UFC try to help a little bit. We've seen some boxers with commentary, but there's not enough for people that put in so much time and effort into this stuff.
Yeah, to give back.
I mean, at least in boxing you get a lot of managers, though, that used to fight at some level.
Yeah, a lot of matchmakers, promoters.
Which you already have a head start there.
Right.
So you're going to be the big deal for. Do you think you'd stick to women's boxing if you did, or would you just do all boxers?
I would do all boxers. Yeah, I would do male and female. Yep.
So I see some ladies who are getting that allegiance now, and they're like, I'm going to help women's boxing or MMA or whatever, and they're not helping the guys right now. They're trying to cultivate kind of a niche market.
Yeah,
but you're more of a.
Sense. I'm for it all. You know, I love the sport, men and women. So.
Is it just because you know that once you aren't doing the fighting, you're going to put 110% into the managing too?
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, like I said, there's more men than women, so you know, in the sport. So.
Right. So Matt, what the hell are you going to do then?
I'm going to go watch the great fights you put on.
That's right.
Politician. He's so good at it.
Yeah.
He's going to be the mayor of something.
Smooth.
Are you going to the fights on Friday? The Tough Enough fights?
Of course, there are going to be some great fights.
And you're buying lots of tickets and handing them out to people?
No, that's your job, and I'm happy to hand them out once.
I don't have money. I'm not handing things out. I'm just, going there and supporting the guys. That's what I'm doing. But so you're going to be there?
Yes.
Are you going to be VIP in the front, or are you going to be hanging out in the back?
I'll be VIP with you.
Oh, you're going to be with... No, I told you, I can't watch the fights. I get too nervous. I get scared for the fighters, and I got to sit in the back, and then I hug them while they're sad, or I give them a high five when they're winning. Not during the winning, because that would be illegal for me to jump in there.
Well, I do think it's important for fighters, especially when they lose, if it's not the coach, that someone talks to them.
Yeah.
And it can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, Joe Rogan always talks about that the kind of pain from losing, especially when it's like a knockout or a submission or anything where it's not just the judges being jerks, but like what you've had to deal with, but where you actually lose consciousness and it's only by the grace of the other person not killing you that you're alive, that it becomes a real emotional just kind of a whipping that you take. It's not like in basketball where it's just the shot goes in and it wasn't your day and the ball didn't bounce your way or whatever. It's that you got beaten essentially in a game of life and death.
It is. And they're on top of the world when they win. They go back to the gym. Everybody wants to talk to them. And it's just the opposite when they lose.
Right. And how much of that for you, because you had to deal with just that you're upset with judges, but was it because of the amount of work you put in, or was it that you were upset with yourself? Or
I guess I never really, obviously you want to be better in the sport, you want to perfect your craft, so I'm always looking at myself to be better, but I didn't look at myself like I did anything necessarily wrong in those fights. I didn't have that leg up like the person I was fighting did.
Yeah, it sounds like you feel like you won most of your fights, if not all of them, and it's just unfortunate with the judging system.
Right, yep. And, like you said, obviously you don't want to be down on yourself when you feel like you did everything in your power, like I won, and obviously these people telling me that I didn't, it just doesn't affect me. I have a strong head and a strong mind, and, I know what I'm capable of and what I did, and that, just doesn't stop me, so. All
right, well, I was going to say that we got to figure out when your next fight is, but you'll just have to tell us, and then we'll talk about it on the air next time.
Yep.
But we're going to have to wrap it up here, so this has been FightGrind Radio on the Las Vegas Tribune, and we will see you, what's today? Is today Monday? Yeah, I never know what day it is. I always think